Hello, welcome to another Talking with Gail, chit-chatting. Today, ladies and gentlemen, and non-binary folks all, darling people, my adorable folks, I don't know, I need to come up with a good moniker. Here we are going to be talking about this, Meet Cute. Meet Cute. There it is, that's what we're talking about. Meet Cute is a short story. Well, technically it's a novelette. It's on the longer end of short stories. And it is about to release in digital form. It's already come out in audio and it's already come out in print. In print, Meet Cute was part of this. So it's a special extra as part of this, which is an omnibus collection of Supernatural Society novellas. So Romancing the Inventor, Romancing the Werewolf, and Meet Cute. Why? Because those three are my most requested fan service style stories. So after I finished the Parasol Protectorate series, everybody wanted to know what was up with Alexia and Connell and the Hedgehog. And they wanted to know what happened to Madame LeFou, and they wanted to know if Biffy and Lyle ever got together again. So I put all those stories together for you in this special edition, which is now sold out. But the only thing that you can't already buy individually and in digital is Meet Cute, which is Alexia and Connell and the Hedgehog at last. So it's finally releasing in digital for you to read, should you so choose. Will Meet Cute ever get a actual print edition? No, at least not right now. Not in addition to the one it's already been in. And that is because it is a short story. And there just isn't mechanics in place right now to do print in the publishing industry for a story of this length. It either has to be part of an anthology or coupled with something else. So it will probably be in print at some point in the not too distant future. I don't know when. I have no concrete plans. Right now, it's just available in digital. I'm sorry, that's just the way it's going to be because there just isn't a means to do anything else with it. Right, that's Meet Cute. Hello to everybody tuning in. Tell me where you're tuning in from. I'm moving the camera close. Oh, hi, that's my really cute dress. I'm having problems with my old tripod and this new setup. I'm gonna have to probably buy a new tripod for these lives. But hi to everyone. Tell me where you're tuning in from. Leave a comment. Let me know. I love seeing the worldwide reach of me and my tea sitting in my office. I'm drinking a cinnamon black tea today with no milk out of my thistle cup. My thistle cup is the only cup that goes with the blue-purple theme. I'm doing the blue-purple theme because, of course, Meet Cute has a blue cover, so have to stick with that theme. Yay! I love everyone telling me where they're from. It makes me so happy. Anyway, right. So, Meet Cute. Why did I write it? I wrote it because you wanted it. I thought I was being very cheeky and non-trope compliant by never depicting the actual moment Alexia and Connell met. I thought, how subversive am I to write what essentially is a romantic thread but in Soulless, but actually have the characters already have met previously and just allude to it. And then of course everybody was like, yes, but we want to know. We want to know what actually happened with Alexia and Connell. We want to know how they met. We want the hedgehog explained. And so finally I was like, fine, I know what happened, obviously. So I guess I better write it down. So I wrote it down and there it is. That is why Meet Cute is coming to you. Yeah. So I guess mostly this is just going to be a Q&A. It looks like we've got quite a few people, so I'm hoping you're going to come up with some great questions for me. You could ask me about Meet Cute. I will not be doing any spoilers though, so you can't ask for specifics. But I'm happy to talk about anything else that's going on. I've been writing quite diligently. I'm currently working on the third San Andreas Shifter book. which is the Enforcer Enigma, which is Colin and Judd's story. So that's what I'm actually writing. And then the next book that's going to be coming out after Meet Cute is Defy or Defend, which is a delightfully deadly book. That's Dimity's book. So many D's, so much alliteration. So that's that'll be next. And yeah, what else has happened? Ooh, this came out. Isn't that exciting? This is the trade paperback edition of the final Custard Protocol book, Reticence. I just got it in the office recently, so that's always exciting. If you've been waiting for paperback, it came out originally in hardback last year, so if you've been waiting for paperback is now available in the United States. Of course, in Europe and overseas, it already came out in paperback. They get paperback with no hardcover. So that's what's going on. Pretty much, I've just been a diligent writer. I had a fantastic retreat recently. I scuttled away to the wilds of Grass Valley here in Northern California, where I ate a piece of cake every single day because Grass Valley has a new cake shop, and I cannot resist cake. So I ate a lot of cake. And yes, just shepherding new books into the world and writing new things. I'm delighted that people seem to be very excited about Dimity's book. I have to say it is a return to form for me. It is very silly and hilarious and ridiculous. It has a lot in common with the early Parasolverse books. There is a hive in trouble, and Dimity is going to fix them with wallpaper, among other things. It's very silly, I have to say. I'm very pleased. The other great secret, don't tell anybody, is that it's actually long. It's not a novella. It is novel length. So, yes, it's not a very long book, but it's on the shorter end of books, but it is technically not a novella. So don't tell anybody, but yes. So hopefully you'll be excited about that. Kat wants to know if I'm going to write any more in the Tinker Stars universe. I don't have any plans this year to write it, but I'm not a particularly quick writer, so the most I can do is like 2 or 3 books a year. So right now I'm going to work on the next San Andreas book, and then I might do another Delightfully Deadly after that. At that juncture, I'll take an evaluation towards the end of the year and decide what I want to write. And it could be another Tinker's Star book, could be another San Andreas book. I have like 2 tickling me at the moment. So I'm not sure what I'll be writing after that, but I'm not under contract right now, so I kind of have my world open. I do have an idea for another Tinkered Stars book, so, but right now it's not like in the schedule, so I don't want to make any promises. Courtney says that 2 to 3 books a year is pretty quick. For some, I follow, a lot of podcasts and authors and bloggers and stuff who write like a book a month, which is, to me, insane. So I do know that there are writers who are quite a bit faster than me. I thought I was fast for a really long time. Book wants to know how the heroine's journey is going. So for those of you who are new to the live or don't get my newsletter, the Cheer Up, I have been also writing nonfiction. So I took kind of a break last year and didn't write fiction for a while because I was working on nonfiction, which is really hard to write. And the nonfiction I was writing is a book about the heroine's journey for writers and for readers and for sort of pop culture dilettantes. Everybody seems to know about the hero's journey, but it turns out that there is another journey. It's the heroine's journey, and it's what I write. And so I finally was waiting for some academic to write this book, and it just wasn't happening. So I finally decided I better write it myself. It turns out it's a lot of work. So it's right now it's still getting some beta reading. One of the things about nonfiction is I feel like it needs a lot more reads of different people in different places in their lives, different writers at different points in their careers, to make sure that it's giving something useful to different readers. So it's still in the beta process. And my agent is making inquiries to see if we want to traditionally publish it, if there's something like someone super excited about it who really wants to take it on. But I think it's probably going to end up being something that I publish myself. And I might bring it out this year if the stars align. I don't know. Haven't really decided yet. I'm kind of trying not to think about it at the moment. I'm trying to just let it go out and get comments, and then I'm going to have to do a big revision pass. And after I do that revision pass, then I'll kind of have an idea, I hope. Right. So, other questions. I'm sorry. You'd think I'd be good at this junction. Dick says that the connection isn't great, but that might be you. I'm getting a good signal, so if other people are having a problem, let me know. Let's see. Whoa! Oh, hey, that's my view. Sorry about that. That's the view out my office window. You just got to see. It's because, I'm struggling with my setup. I'm always struggling with my setup. Someday the technology will be great and all will be well. But then what would I say? Other questions? Anybody? Right. Well, if you've asked me a question and I haven't answered it, then just ask it again. Sorry about that. What else is going on? I have an exciting goodie box for the Chirp, so I'm looking forward to that. For you guys, it's a tea themed goodie box. It's 2 teacups and then 2 copies of How to Marry a Werewolf. So the idea is that you and a friend could both read it at the same time, and then you could get together and have tea and talk about it or something like that. So it's called it's How to Marry Tea for 2. So if you want to, what's the word I'm looking for? Submit for that contest? Enter. Then, make sure you belong to the Chirp before the next one goes out, which isn't until the end of the month, so you have lots of time to figure it out. But I'm looking forward to that goodie box going out into the world. Goodie boxes are so much fun to put together, I have to say. There's a reason I give them away. It's because it's like, ooh, what can I put in it? I'm gonna put some tea in it. I'm gonna put some steampunk jewelry in it. I have a grand old time. Makes me happy. Can I color theme it? Color theming, obviously. My favorite thing. Frankie would like to know if I've had enough tea, and I think I have. Yes, I made myself a cup, and now I'm feeling more with it. I'm still slightly out of it. I overslept this morning, and it sort of threw my whole day off in a very strange way. Annie wants to know how I'm doing with the goals that I talked about in my last live. So the last live I talked about some of my business and book goals for the year, and so far so good. I'm feeling pretty confident and great. In fact, I'm ahead of the game on the current book I'm working on because this writing retreat was so successful for me. I wrote more words than I thought I would be able to, so that's very exciting. It's gonna need a strong pass, but. Mandy wants to know if there's any way that Moira Quirk can do any of the audiobooks. So Moira is a very in-demand narrator, and she mostly does contracts with traditional publishers. So for my indie stuff, I don't use her. I'm sorry. But she's been great. She does all of the Finishing School series. If you haven't listened to those, that's also Moira. And then she does all of the Custard Protocol series. And I think she's awesome. But unfortunately, she's just she's prohibitively expensive. And also she's so much in demand that audiobooks, you already have to wait while they get recorded. So they already take longer than other books. If I wanted to use Moira, it would be a year or 2 years between the book, the digital and the print edition of any book coming out, and the audio coming out. So you would wait a long time for Moira if I even could get her to do it. So I use independent voice talent instead. And I give Emma a chance. Emma does a lot of my narration. She'll be doing Defy or Defend. She's done quite a few of my novellas prior to that. She did Meet Cute as well, which you can go listen to right now. You can buy it directly from my website and download it and listen to it and check it out and see if you like her. I think she's a fantastic narrator. So I really love Emma as well. So I think she's just as good as Moira. Different, but just as good. So yeah, give her a chance. I swear I know Moira's great, but Emma's really good too. Book wants to know if I write more because I want to write more than other authors. In other words, am I being competitive? Is that what you're asking? Maybe a little bit. I think it's more that I'm just like super organized. I'm like really strangely, what's the word? Methodical in my approach to writing, which I know a lot of other creatives just aren't like that. They kind of wait for the muse to move them, or, you know, that kind of thing. I like outlines. I like to plan everything. Like, obviously, I talked in the last live about my goals for the year. I like to sort of work, and I feel a great sort of burst of adrenaline or pleasure or what have you when I succeed in something, when I get to cross something off the list, when something comes out. Like, that's really satisfying for me. The act of being done is very exciting to me, rather, like, more even than the act of actually writing, I think. So I'm not someone who enjoys the creative process so much as I enjoy the end results of the creative process. And I think that motivates me to be a little bit faster than many writers. Not all of them, though. So I think that's part of it. But I just like to be consistent. Like the reason I write as fast as I do is because I want to write the next thing. I want to keep you guys happy. I want to keep my readers coming back for more. So yeah, that's one of the reasons I write as quickly as I do. It is also one of the reasons that I switch between projects. So I'm like more productive if I can move between a different universe or different characters or different styles, like from contemporary to historical or what have you, because that keeps me really excited and interested in what I'm writing. So that's one of the reasons I write the way I do. But it always seems to shift. Like, I feel like every 5 years as a writer, like, things change again and I come up with a new approach. Jacqueline says word count fueled by cake. That's kind of me, yeah. And tea. How long, Lisa wants to know, or Liza, how long does it typically take voice talent to record? So that's an interesting question. So first of all, I have to, this is the way audio works for me. It's different for different authors, it's different for independent authors, and it's different for traditional. But in general, I tell my producer, because I have a producer who handles all my audio for me. He's just way better at the technical end of the spectrum. He quality checks for me. He contracts the narrator for me. He has a whole studio set up so he can make sure everything's nice and clean and great. So I pay a bit extra to have an actual producer involved. So I contact my producer Brian, and I say, I have a book coming up. I'm pretty sure I'll have a copy edited manuscript for you on this date. And that's can be kind of a tentative date. But so it's usually like at the beginning of the year, or in January, or in February, or whenever it is. And then I say, would you see if this narrator, and I now have kind of a team of narrators who I like to work with for the different books. And I'll say, is Kurt available? Or is Emma available? Would you mind reaching out and asking them if they'd be ready for and I tell them the word count, 60 words or 90, because that'll give them an idea of how many hours it's going to be of their time so they can schedule. And I was like, just ping them, see if they're up for it. Usually they are, or in some cases, they already have a couple of contracts in place, so I'm going to have to wait if I want that narrator or find a new one. Usually I choose to wait because I like to keep consistency with my series. And so Brian will reach out, we'll set that up. Then when the deadline comes around, Brian or I will ping each other to be like, are we ready? Are we ready to go? Is Emma ready? Okay, great. And then I send away the manuscript. And this is usually like towards the time when a pre-order is going live. So I don't usually set a pre-order in place for the digital edition of a book until I am really close to being finally done with it, just because I get really nervous. Something could go wrong. Generally, I trust myself to make deadlines, but if I'm dependent on any other contractors at all, from cover art to copy editor to developmental editor, I don't like to commit to an actual date because I don't control them. So something could happen, they could get sick, I need to spend time finding somebody else. So when I do a pre-order, that is my promise to you that the book is going to be ready and out on that date. So at that juncture, I'm usually right near the end of it, the book. It's not quite done, but it's right near the end. And that's about the same time that I have a manuscript that is clean enough. It's not perfect, but it's clean enough to go to my narrator. So then it goes off to the narrator, and then it takes them however long it takes them. Usually 2 to 3 months is about the time. Sometimes they can turn it around really fast. Sometimes there's a lot of errors, and the problem with errors in an audiobook is the narrator has to go back into the studio and re-record stuff. So errors are extremely time-consuming in audio, which they aren't in the written word. So, yeah, so there's a back and forth that's going on behind the scenes between me, between Brian, between my narrator, talking about how to pronounce names. Whether, if the narrator needs to come up with an accent. Like, for Triss, Michael Leslie, who does the narration for The Fifth Gender, had to come up with an entire alien dialect accent to influence how he was going to portray that character. So that took a little time back and forth in conversation. So that's one of the reasons audio just takes so long. And then, a pre-order is usually 2 months or so. So now we're a month away from the book actually having coming out. The print edition hopefully has dropped at this juncture, so we're still waiting on the audio. Then I get the audio, I gotta listen to it, make sure it sounds okay, and then I have to upload it. And then audio takes at least 10 days for me. Again, some authors seem to have it easier than I do, but to clear the audio system. So both Findaway Voices and Amazon, who's Audible, just take forever to quality check audio. So it can take 10 days is usually the best you can hope for. Sometimes it can take 3 weeks, a month, just for them to get it through their system to post it up for people to download. So audio is a hassle and a lot, like that was a long answer to that question. But so it isn't just the narrator's time that's involved, it's all of these other things that just take more time in audio. So unfortunately, that's why you wait. It's one of the many, many reasons that traditional publishers who like to time their audio with their audiobooks to drop with their print, with their digital, all at the same time, they tend to have a much longer lead time. So the books that they are producing and traditionally publishing usually are done a year before. They're a year out at the very least, often 2 years. So they have all of this time to make sure that the audio is ready to go, and then they drop everything. I am more interested in getting the book to you as quickly as I can on a consistent schedule. So I like to release some kind of book in the spring and some kind of book in the fall, and that's just kind of my contract to you, my style as an author. And that means that often the digital and print editions will drop earlier and even separate from each other, and definitely earlier than the audiobook. And that's just my style. People seem to like Emma. Great. The other great thing about Emma, who's my narrator for most of the Parasolverse books that are not traditionally published, so all of my novellas and To Fire Defend, Emma is actually British, which is one of my requirements for the Parasolverse, unless, of course, the character is not British, but mostly I like a British narrator, a proper British narrator, not an American doing a British accent. She's also a very good author, Emma Newman. So if you like sci-fi, she even has a Gaslight Fantasy series. Check her stuff out. She also narrates her own books. So if you are interested in an author who does their own narration, because they are also a professional narrator, Emma is a great listen. I highly recommend her because both her narration and her writing is excellent. So, and she's a profoundly good egg. She's a really, really cool person. There's quite a few audiobook listeners, it turns out, tuning in and leaving comments and saying things. So hello. You can also sample if you're curious about my narrator and you're not sure whether you want to make the jump. On my website, every book that is not traditionally published, I have asked, but they have not complied. But every book that I control the audio for has a sample of that audio, so on its book page on my website, so you can just go to that page and listen to the narrator and see if you like them. I know you can also sample it within the app of whatever, audio app you use. But you can just go listen. Even if you're not an audio person and you want to hear what we're talking about, you can go take a listen. You can go listen to Michael Leslie on the Fifth Genders book page doing the accent of Triss to see, you know, what we came up with, how it all ended up. Clay says, the 12-year-old loves my makeup. Thank you very much. This is a new lipstick. I'm not sure about it, but I think they're discontinuing my regular lipstick, so I've been experimenting with new lipsticks recently. Nicole wonders whether narrators are told how to pronounce names. In some cases, it depends on the intimacy of the relationship between the author and the narrator. I have learned, as a general rule, to provide a little bit of a pronunciation guide. The best narrators, or the narrators that I have a very comfortable working relationship with, will ping me. Sometimes they and I just don't know that they're supposed to pronounce it differently. For example, Marin in the San Andreas books, I think Kurt mispronounces it. It didn't even occur to me that he might do that because I grew up there. So I was like, oh, there's only one way to pronounce it. But I chose Kurt partly because he has an East Coast accent and all of the characters are transplants from the East Coast to the Bay Area. So I wanted someone who had a sort of a little bit of a Boston, like Northern East Coast tone to their voice and to their narration. And so it didn't even occur to me that I was like, it's not Marin, it's Marin. So, you know, sometimes you just don't know what you're supposed to tell people and how to pronounce things, and they don't know to ask. That's you know, just the way things happen in life, really. Yes, Mandy is saying that Lord Akeldama, Emily Gray, who read the first series, my first series, the Parasol Protectorate series, she's a wonderful reader, but she pronounces Lord Akeldama, Lord Akeldama, and I didn't know. It's traditional, so like often they contract the narrator and then the author has no conversation at all. And so, you know, I was pleased with Emily, and they did say, you know, we've got this narrator, we think she's great. And I did agree because I heard a sample of her work, but it didn't occur to anybody that it wasn't pronounced Akeldama, it was Akeldama. And normally I don't care that much, but Akeldama was going to have to turn into Dama in the Custard Protocol series, and so when Changeless came around, I was like, could you pronounce his name differently, please? Sorry. A lot of lovely little comments. Thank you all for saying such nice things. Kat says that they have both audio and digital for nearly all of my books, which is quite the collector. I very much appreciate that. That's very kind. To buy and to read and to listen. I will say that I have been very, very lucky with my narrators. Even if there have been a few snafus, I feel like the narrators that traditional publishing gave me for my series have been really quality and really excellent. And I've been very lucky. Not all authors are that lucky. Like, yay! It's my pleasure to explain the audio process, but I should say that not all authors are like me in the way audio is handled. Different publishing houses are different as well. But you can see how complicated it is, and also how narrators often, the best narrators, will start specializing. So the narrators kind of become their own popularity contest, right? Not contest, but like narrators will have listeners who will follow them around, and they don't care what the book is. They just love the narration so much they'll listen to anything that is narrated by that person, which is very interesting. So, but it behooves an author to kind of understand that world and pick a narrator with that in mind. I'm thinking specifically about narrators who have to do, say, high fantasy, where you have very complicated names and lots of, you know, different cultures and languages, and, you know, so having to narrate that kind of thing can be quite challenging. Alien races and science fiction as well. I don't envy them, I have to say. It's not one of my skill sets, that's for sure. There's a reason I don't read my books out loud. Oh, I apologize for the barking if you can hear it. There's a through pass underneath my office. I'm over a transom, and there's like a pet store over there, and they take the dogs for walks all the time, and then there are dogs in the house nearby, and the dogs yap, and it's just noisy. So I apologize if you all can hear the yapping of the dogs. Thank you all for such nice things, for saying you love my writing and stuff. It's very sweet. Chloe says that the UK is still waiting for the audiobook on Reticence. Just keep hounding them. They have the assets. It is, I don't know if it is Audible who is not clearing them through their system, or if it is Orbit UK who is not publishing it. But I think it's Orbit right now. So, yeah, ping them and tell them to get it moving. It's a mess right now. Traditional publishing is a mess right now, you guys. Oof. Clinton says that they started listening to or reading John Scalzi because Will Wheaton was the narrator. Yeah, I know quite a few people who have done that. I know that Scalzi and Will are good friends as well. So it makes sense that they have, you can see the voice tonality between the two of them is very harmonious. Nicole wants to know if these are eyeballs on my necklace. This is an Etsy vendor who I totally love, and yes, they reminded me of kind of the Eye of Sauron, only blue, and nail matched earrings. And I just love how, like, both sort of fashion-y and creepy they are, and I was like, those are mine. I snapped them up. Mandy says that they've been bombarding Orbit. Well, thank you, Mandy. It is the only thing you can really do at this juncture. But if it's still not, I heard, incidentally, that somebody in the Parasol Protectorate fan group said that Reticence is available in the UK on Google Play. So if you're willing to jump systems, it should be there. Book says, may the evil eye protect you. All right, so we had a nice little session on audio and how audio comes to be. How are we doing for time? We're about halfway through the live. Does anybody have any other questions? I'm sure I will ask that question, and then there'll be a spate of typing, and then there'll be a slight delay, and then more questions will happen. But I'll take a drink of my delightful tea, which is now getting cold. Mandy, I don't know what you're excited about, but oh, because of Google Play. Yeah. Yeah, someone in the group said it was definitely up in Google Play, Reticence. So you should be able to go get it there. So the Etsy vendor's name is like Herbanium, or it is the most unmemorable name, and I really struggle to remember it, but I'll bop back around and leave it in as a comment below this, or I'll try and find your comment and leave you a link. Yeah, unfortunately, if you go to Etsy and you Google eyeball necklace, this one does not come up. But I think they're still there, and I think they're still active. It's just that I can never remember the name. Usually I remember to bring the card to sit with me, and I have the card. I have a scan of the card saved on my computer because I'm so bad about remembering. Kristen wants to know if this is a thistle on my teacup. Yes, it is. There's the pretty side. Teacups are always made so that, like, as you drink it, the full image is actually on the side facing you. Teacups are not made for lives, or for video, I should say. This is a Japanese-made teacup, but I believe it is the Scots thistle. I think it's the Scottish thistle that's on the teacup. I got this one originally in honor of Changeless, because they go to Scotland in that one, and it matches the cover of Changeless, so that's why I originally bought it. Right. What am I thinking about next? We talked about the giveaway. We talked about Me Cute. I've gone over to the hedgehog side. I've just been posting adorable pictures of hedgehogs, which is going to be very exciting for me. I love hedgehogs so much. Jacqueline O'Connor wants to know if I've ever done the Myers-Briggs test. Yes, indeed I have done the Myers-Briggs test. I have this problem, though. I don't know if I'm slightly amorphous in my personality or what, but I have this problem with both Myers-Briggs and a lot of, and like the Harry Potter house sorting tests and stuff like that, which is, depending on my mood, And like if I'm at a convention and being super extroverted, or if I'm home and writing a lot, I tend to test into different sectors. So I'm not like really strongly in anything, it doesn't seem like. But yes, the last time I took the Myers-Briggs, I was INTJ. And of those, the only one I fall into with any very high percentage is J, apparently. Very judgy. Who knew? Oh, Mandy asks, is there a tea that I really don't like? Yes, I'm afraid that there is. Now, there are exceptions to this, which is to say, this is just to drink, and I drink my tea with no sugar and with milk as a general rule. So there are some tea, as in tea from the tea leaf teas, that I like, but I sort of drink under certain circumstances. So like oolongs and green teas and stuff, I really like those with foods, like with dim sum or what have you. But as a regular tea to drink, I almost always drink just an English breakfast or an Assam, or I like a malty black. So that, and I don't like teas that are really aggressive. So I, for example, do not like Lapsang Souchong. I'm not a big Pu'er fan. I'm sorry, I know. And I really don't like Earl Grey. And I blame Star Trek: The Next Generation for convincing Americans that everybody should drink Earl Grey, because I don't like Earl Grey. I'm sorry, I don't like it. However, I've had some Earl Grey ice cream, Earl Grey flavored like sponge cakes and stuff like that are quite delicious. So I'm not necessarily against it as a flavor, it's just as a tea that I don't really enjoy it. I'm sorry if you're an Earl Grey drinker, like more for you, right? Like you, and considering that I am on a one-woman mission to like drink all the tea in the world, it is good that I have left the Earl Grey for the Earl Grey aficionados. But I struggle with it as just a drinking beverage with milk. I know, I understand. I am flawed in this manner. But yes, generally I don't like to say when I don't like something. Book wants to know if readers have uncovered all my hidden Easter eggs in all of my books. Book worries that they missed some of them. I don't know. I drop a lot of them. It's really hard for me to keep track of them. Occasionally someone would come up to me and have caught something that was in like an older book like Blameless or something, and I forgot I stuck it in there, and they will come up and get so excited because they have found it and no one else has talked to me about it. I struggle to remember when the last time that happened. It's often archaeological or historical, and I'm literally like, you are the first person I've met who spotted it. But those tend to be really obscure. Generally speaking, I feel like most of them have been caught most of the time. The secret with the Easter eggs with my stuff is if you're a rereader, you're more likely to catch them. So if you are somebody who in general likes to reread books, if you reread mine like every time a new book comes out, or you know, reread the old series after a new series has completed, so then you catch more and more and more and more. But I do love me my Easter eggs. I'm afraid I'm a big fan of them. So I don't know if all of them have been caught, but I feel like most of them have. Yes, someone else mentions that I'm not a big fan of Rubios, but the question was about tea, and Rubios is not tea. It is a bark. So meh. Sorry, no offense. But when I'm talking about tea, and when people are asking me about tea, I'm assuming that they mean the actual tea leaf tea. Tisanes and non-caffeinated beverages and all that are a whole different conversation that I also do drink. But when I'm talking about tea, it must come from the tea plant, as far as I'm concerned. Clinton says that they found the Hitchhiker's Guide reference in Solace. Yes, that is absolutely there. Talk about an Easter egg that crosses to another author. I do that as well. because I am such a fan of some other authors that I think I have to do a little nod to Douglas Adams, for example. There's a discussion of tea going on at the moment. I'm looking for other questions. Yes, Lisa's saying that they always thought tea was awful when they were younger because they only had one type of tea in their house. And I have to say that is something that I've encountered, which is Americans in particular, being more of a coffee drinking culture, don't experience a range of teas, and so they don't understand that there are, for lack of a better term, sort of sweeter and less aggressive teas, what we would call malty teas, and less brisk teas, like Assam, and that perhaps that they think they don't like tea, but it's just that there's such a range of different flavors. They haven't really experienced the tea that is to their taste yet. So I often, like if somebody comes up to me and says, you know, I like a really smoky whiskey, or then I will say, have you tried Lapsang Sushan? Because it kind of fills that niche as a warm, like, comfort beverage. So I'm not, like, just because I don't like it doesn't mean I'm not going to recommend it to other people. I do that with books all the time too, where I'm just like, that book wasn't for me, but if you really like this author, who I also don't really like that much, I can recommend you other books. I was joking with, I did a podcast interview recently with librarians, and I was like, I probably should have been a bookseller or a librarian in a different life, because I love making a love match between a person and a book, or a person and a tea. And that doesn't matter to me whether that's my tea. Sure, if I really love a book or if I really love a tea, I do want everyone else to love it. But I'm almost just as happy to recommend the right book or the right tea to somebody, if I can tunnel in and figure out what that might be, even if it's not something that I personally enjoy all that much. Amber wants to know if there was a #1 spot on Amazon recently. Yeah, it was Meet Cute. So Meet Cute got to the #1 and Steampunk for a little while, which was very exciting, and that was because of you. So thank you all for the pre-orders and jumping on that one. It was really exciting. As Clay says, read early, read often. Please keep us alive. Stephanie says that their husband catches Easter eggs even when they haven't been listening to all of the books, when they're listening to them on road trips and stuff like that. Yes, all the Easter eggs. Stephanie says Lipton ruins generations. Although I think this could be wildly inaccurate, but I think I read something recently about the parent company of Lipton is declaring bankruptcy or something like that, which I don't know how I feel about, but I heard the rumor. So it is possible that Lipton tea will not be around for much longer, although it could get sold off to somebody else, I suppose. Alyssa likes my turban. Thank you very much. Yeah, I decided to go with brown accessories, although technically speaking, I suppose this dress would be better with black, but I love this my little fuzzy wrap, so, and I know how cold the office gets, so even though it's finally warming up here, I was like, I'm gonna have to wear the browns today. Nicole begins asking a question about soap. Let me see if I can see more. Sometimes when the comments, oh, Nicole wants POC fluff. What a good question. I should go out hunting for that. I do have a whole blog post about like genderqueer, disability, and romances featuring like ace, arrow, and other sexual identities and gender identities. So if you want to Google that, I do have one of that. And those are all specifically ones that have happy endings. But I haven't done something like that for POC and fluffy, which, no, I totally get that. I should look into it. I would say your best bet to start looking at least is within romance, but within like fantasy romance or sci-fi romance. I think there's probably some good stuff there, but that's a great challenge. I'm gonna have to go hunting. Yeah. Ooh, Ooh, I wish I had something to pull off the top of my head, but you're absolutely right. I think you're facing up to something that I faced up to as a queer person, which is there were a lot of great books out there, but they tended to be really heavy and dark and dealing with serious identity issues and family trauma and all that sort of stuff. And that's great, and those books are doing important work, but I really want just to see people like me get happy endings, and I really just wanted to read something that made me feel good and light, but also in which I saw parts of myself and parts of my own identity. And I think that that's what you're calling out for, Nicole. And yeah, I would say I think Book Riot has had some good recommendation lists. They had a great list recently. If you're willing to read romance, they had a great like romance novella list recently that heavily featured persons of color. So I think I tweeted about it, but if you just Googled Book Riot novella recommendation list, I think it will come up, or novella romance recommendation list, I think it will come up. So what's one place to start. And yeah, I feel like if you want something like lighthearted and fun and joyful, like romance is kind of leading the charge in that, because by its very nature as a narrative, it's offering up that kind of happiness and fluffiness, particularly romantic comedy. But there are others. It's also queer, but Nikki Wolfark has a great kind of cozy mystery series. She's a queer black main character, and they take place in a bakery. Oh my god, they're so cute. Nikki Wolfark, Woolfo. I'll put a link in below, but you should try that. She's great, and I love her books, so that's an option. That's mysteries and food. So maybe that'll. But yeah, fantasy. If what you want is fluffy fantasy, that's already hard to find. Like fluffy urban fantasy and fluffy fantasy it's just underwritten. It's rough to find nice fluffy fun stuff. I mean, I like fluffy sci-fi too. That's even harder. Katie has an etiquette question. You lent your mama a book over Christmas. How long do I ask before she read it? Ooh, that's a strong etiquette question. Ooh, man. If you've lent someone a book and you want to talk with them about it and you want to know if they've read it yet, how long should they be given? I think a month at least. And it depends on, like, are they a frequent reader? Or are they a reluctant reader? Oof, that's rough. At least a month, probably 2 months before you start really bugging them about it. And then I would be kind of genteel. I would be like, so that book, have you read it yet? Now, if you want the book back, that's a different story. Like, I think if you loan someone a book already, what a risk to take. Because you might never get it back. That's always a risk when you loan somebody a book. But I think if you've loaned someone a book and you need it back for like research or to pass along to somebody else or whatever, then you're kind of within your rights to start requesting it, you know, after just a couple of months. Although I'm a super fast reader, but by and large, like, I feel like 3 months is how long someone should have to read a book, and then you're like, give me that book back, it's mine. Avery wants to know if I was familiar with London when I wrote Solace. Yeah, my mother is British. She's a Londoner. She's born and raised there. And I used to go to England quite frequently as a child. So around age 8, they started sending me over to the UK. My grandparents at that point lived in Devon, but I always spent time in London. So when I was there with my mom, we would always spend, you know, time in London walking. She's a walker, so she would drag me all over London, trailing behind her. And then time in Devon. So, and then I lived in London for several months, one summer as just out of university. And then I also went to school. I went to graduate school in Nottingham, but also always, whenever I go to England, I always spend time in London. But really for me, the most helpful thing was Baedekers. Baedekers are Victorian travel guides written for Victorian travelers. And there's one for London and its environs. Because the important thing is that it's not the London my London is not the same London as is there now. It's very similar, but street names have changed. The locations of things have changed. The way traffic moves around when there's no vehicles is completely different, or no combustion engine. So it was important for me to have to do the research of what London was like during the Victorian era, and that's what Baedekers do for me. I'd run and get one, but then I'd have to leave a blank screen for a while. But you can Google Gail Carriger Baedekers, Baedeker, and you'll see my collection. But basically that's Victorian travel guides, and that's what I used for most of my research when I'm writing Solus. And the Custard Protocol and Etiquette and Espionage. I used travel guides for all of those. What's a love match between reading one of my books and the perfect outdoor spot? So in social media, you'll often find I love paintings of girls reading outside. There's something about it that's so evocative or something, and it's so me as a kid. Like, I was totally a California kid, but which meant, you know, I grew up on the beach and the weather, and I was a lifeguard and all that stuff, but my favorite thing to do was to take a book outside and to curl up in the bushes somewhere, or under a tree on the beach or something. That's like a lot of my reading memories are sort of reading outside memories, which is strange, but it's something that really appeals to me. So I always see my books, like someone reading my books, in like a quintessential British garden, I guess. So kind of that herbaceous border, which are these organic curves with different levels of plants, not too immaculate, maybe a little messy. And I can see sort of scooching into a hammock or a relaxed wicker chair, you know, with a cup of tea and a little table next to you. I guess that's how I would picture it. And not necessarily with things in full bloom or anything like that, but that's the atmosphere I imagine them being read in anyway. Ah, somebody is describing their first experience with sweetened tea. And yes, Jessa, I learned that lesson myself, which is if you are in the south of the United States, for those of you who might be traveling there and have never been before, when one orders tea, it is an entirely different experience, and you should probably be prepared for that. and I was not, and I was a little perturbed, shall we say. Yes, but I also very rarely order tea in general when I'm traveling around the United States, because you just never know what you're going to get, what kind of tea it will be, what kind of bag it is, whether they're going to use the water from the coffee machine to make the tea. Oh, scandal! So actually, when I'm traveling, I either bring my own tea bags with me and make my own tea on the go, or I will order coffee. I hate to say it, but if I really need caffeine, I drink coffee when I'm on the go. I drink lattes. Sorry. But they're just more trustworthy. I don't trust tea in the United States. Ooh, yes, Nicole, back again on persons of color as main characters and fluffier stuff. Yeah, Black History Month. Maybe for this year I'll put together a list for that. That's a really good idea. Yeah, the books tend to be pretty intense. And there have to be less intense books out there. There have to be. Mandy wants to know if I have any plans to visit the UK for cons or signings in the next year or two. Not this year. It looks, there's a slim chance that I might be in France this year, in Toulouse, I think is how it is pronounced, in the south of France. But that looks like it will be my European trip this year. If it happens, no promises. I'm not sure if it's going to happen because the French are being very French about it. So pinning them down for concrete dates and stuff like that. And I tend to not announce I'm going anywhere or to any event until I actually have the plane ticket in my hot little hand. So no plane ticket yet. No official announcement. And then the year after that, I don't know what's going on in 2021 yet. Except that I'll probably be going to Washington, D.C. for Worldcon in August. I would love to get back to the UK. I still have many friends there from when I was at school there. I still have family there. I miss it terribly when I haven't had a chance to go, so I really would like to, but currently no concrete reasons or plans, and I no longer have a UK publisher. We split halfway through the Custard Protocol series, so, and without a publisher in that area to really back me, it's much harder to organize like book signings, and you know, without a publisher advocating for you, it's less likely that a convention in that country is going to invite you and stuff like that. Like France is a big shock to me, although they are still publishing me in France, but so the UK, it's looking rough, I hate to say it, but if I come over for some other reason or for myself, just to visit family, then I will usually at least attempt to organize a get-together, if not a signing. Julie wants to know where I got my glasses. These are vintage and they were a gift. A fan at a signing, I can't remember when or where at this juncture, just came up and handed them to me in a beautiful vintage case, and I got my prescription put in them. And yeah, I love them. Although I have to say, vintage, they're heavy. I have a vintage vendor who specializes in glasses. I think they're out of like Sebastopol here in California. They also have stuff online, but they basically collect vintage frames and then will put your prescription in for you. So you can find people who will do that. But that's kind of like, they do vintage fairs and festivals and that sort of thing. But you could just wander into a vintage shop if you found one, a clothing store, and ask if they know of anyone in the area who does frames. But I think you can find them online and stuff now too. It's just I have one in my back pocket, so I don't really need to. Glasses question. Oh, there! Bryax has a Laboo Chocolate's Adventure by Nikki Wolfark. She has the name of the book that I was talking about earlier in the comment thread, so check that out. Thank you very much, Bryax. Other conversations are going on in the comments, so I'm scrolling through to see if I'm missing any questions. Oh, and my things are tilting. Jess is like, I was never warned about sweet tea. I know, it's tragic. And look at me, I admitted to drinking coffee, and oh, so traumatic. People are excited about Worldcon 2020. I hope other people are into it. Ooh, and we're almost at the end of the live, and I still haven't finished my tea. So it has been delightful as ever talking with you all. We got quite a bit on audiobooks, which I hadn't really planned, but I'm glad to do so. And yes, so ostensibly we were meant to be talking about this because I have Meet Cute coming out. So one more time with feeling, there it is, Meet Cute coming out soon to your digital platform of preference worldwide. You'll be able to get it from me directly. If you do not want to be beholden to a platform, you can just buy it from me on my website. And it is Alexia and Connell's Meet Cute with a hedgehog. There might even be more than one hedgehog. And also, there are definitely a look-in from a couple of your other favorite characters. So, because man, I snuck that in as well. Everything, all in one little story. That happens soon. And I am busy getting Defy or Defend ready for you. So, those of you who get the newsletter, you get a special announcement upcoming about Meet Cute, but then at the beginning of next month, you get to see Defy or Defend's cover art. So, I'm very excited. We just finalized it, and it is fabulous and very exciting. So, yeah, obviously I'm very excited. I'm squealing at you. So, hopefully you're excited to see that, and there will be a pre-order for you at that juncture. Yay! Dimity! Oh, it's so ridiculous, you guys. It's so ridiculous. Yeah, that's the exciting thing. Thank you all for showing up, and I'll talk to you again. I'm doing mini lives occasionally these days, but I will definitely try and drop another live in a month from today, and if at all possible. Bye!